Has this ever happened to you? You meet a man, and your attraction to him feels less like a choice and more like a chemical reaction, a gravitational pull that defies logic and even your own better judgment. He is not the man on your carefully curated checklist. He may be unpredictable, emotionally distant, or carry a darkness that your rational mind knows is a warning sign. And yet, you are drawn to him with an intensity that borders on obsession. This is not a simple case of opposites attract. This is a sacred and often dangerous encounter with your own soul. You are not attracted to a man. You are being magnetized by a missing piece of yourself. You are being called home by your own shadow. The psychologist Carl Jung defined the shadow self as the unknown, dark side of the personality. It is not necessarily evil or negative. It is simply everything we have disowned about ourselves. It is the vast, uncharted territory of our own psyche, where we have banished the parts of our personality that were deemed unacceptable by our family, our culture, and our own conscious ego. For the woman raised to be a good girl, her shadow might contain her rage, her ambition, her healthy selfishness. For the woman conditioned to be the strong, independent one who never needs anyone, her shadow might hold her softness, her vulnerability, her deep longing to be cared for. We are a house with many rooms, and the shadow is the collection of rooms we have locked and pretended do not exist. But the unconscious is always striving for wholeness. It is a relentless force, constantly seeking to integrate these lost parts back into our conscious personality. And one of its most powerful and dramatic tools for doing this is the phenomenon of projection. Because you cannot see the locked rooms inside your own house, your unconscious will project the contents of those rooms onto the people you meet, and you will not have a neutral reaction. You will be either violently repelled by a person who embodies a shadow trait, or you will be irresistibly, magnetically drawn to them. This is the man who reflects your shadow. He is not your opposite. He is your echo, the living embodiment of a part of you that you have been taught to hate or fear. The good girl finds herself inexplicably drawn to the rebellious artist who lives by no one's rules but his own. The powerful CEO who prides herself on her logical detachment is mesmerized by the emotionally turbulent musician who feels everything with a raw, almost painful intensity. This connection feels fated, electric, and utterly intoxicating, precisely because it is not a meeting of two people. It is the meeting of your conscious self with its own disowned potential. Your soul is not whispering, it is screaming, there. That unapologetic freedom, that raw vulnerability, that is mine. It was stolen from me, and I must get it back. You subconsciously believe that by possessing him, by merging with him, you can reclaim this vital part of your own being, without having to do the terrifying work of unlocking those forbidden rooms yourself. He is not a person to you. He is a shortcut to your own salvation. This intoxicating illusion, the belief that he is a shortcut to your own wholeness, is the reason these shadow attractions feel so intensely compelling and are almost always doomed to end in agony. The initial phase is one of pure, almost hallucinogenic obsession. You feel a sense of recognition so profound it feels like destiny. He gets you in a way no one else ever has. This feeling is not entirely false. He does recognize a part of you, but it is the unlived, unconscious part. Your shadow is speaking to his. It is a dialogue happening beneath the surface of your conscious interactions, a secret, powerful current pulling you closer. You will find yourself idealizing the very qualities in him that represent your disowned self. If your shadow contains your anger, you will see his temper not as a red flag, but as passion and authenticity. You will admire his ability to express what you have been forced to swallow your entire life. If your shadow holds your vulnerability, you will interpret his emotional unavailability not as a wound, but as a sign of strength and independence. You will be mesmerized by his stoic reserve because it mirrors the very hyper-independence you have been both praised for and imprisoned by. You are not seeing a man. You are seeing a myth you have constructed from the missing pieces of your own psyche. This is a state of profound psychological blindness. You will find yourself making excuses for behavior you would never tolerate from anyone else. Friends and family will raise concerns, pointing to the objective, observable chaos he brings into your life. But you will not be able to hear them. You will defend him with the ferocious, irrational loyalty of a mother protecting her child, because on a deep, unconscious level, you are protecting a child, the abandoned, exiled child of your own inner world. To accept that he is flawed would be to accept that the very quality you are trying to reclaim, your rage, your freedom, your vulnerability, is itself flawed. And this is a truth your psyche is not yet ready to bear. This stage is a powerful, dangerous form of self-deception. The attraction is real, but its source is entirely internal. It has almost nothing to do with him as a person. Do you see the tragedy being set in motion? You have cast a mere mortal man in the divine role of your own savior. You have tasked him with the impossible mission of reintegrating a part of your soul that only you have the power to reclaim. He is not the key to your locked rooms. He is simply a man who jingles a similar set of keys outside your door. The pull you feel is the desperate, hopeful sound of your own inner exile rattling the cage. But you are both the prisoner and the only one who can set her free. He is merely the catalyst, the living, breathing, and often deeply wounded reminder of the work you have refused to do on your own. And catalysts, by their very nature, are meant to be consumed by the reaction they create. The intoxicating phase of idealization inevitably collapses, not because he changes, but because reality intrudes. The very shadow traits that mesmerized you at a distance begin to poison you at close range. This is the second, agonizing stage of the shadow attraction, confrontation and disillusionment. The man is no longer a myth. He is a human being, and the qualities you projected onto him now reveal their unintegrated, wounded nature. His passionate anger is not the righteous, authentic expression you fantasized about. It is real anger, often volatile, directed at you, and it is terrifying. The rebellious artist's unapologetic freedom is not a principled stand against conformity. It is a chaotic refusal to be accountable, leaving a trail of broken promises and emotional wreckage in his wake. The Stoic musician's strength is not a sign of masterful self-possession. It is a profound, trauma-induced emotional numbness, an inability to connect, leaving you feeling profoundly alone even when he is right beside you. You are now in direct, painful contact with your own unintegrated shadow, and it is not the beautiful, romanticized thing you imagined. It is a raw, wounded, and often destructive force. This is the moment of the great psychic crisis. Your entire narrative begins to fracture. The man you thought was your savior is revealed to be a deeply wounded human being, often suffering from the very same wound as you, but expressing it in its opposite shadow form. He is not the cure, he is a mirror to your own sickness. And what happens when a person is forced to look at a reflection they have spent a lifetime avoiding? They either break the mirror or they finally see themselves. The immature response is to break the mirror. You will try to fix him. You will pour all of your energy into trying to change the very qualities that once drew you in. You will try to teach the angry man to be calm, the irresponsible man to be accountable, the emotionally numb man to feel. Do you see the profound and tragic irony? You are now attempting to force his shadow back into the very same box where you keep your own. You're trying to make him good, safe, and acceptable, the very things you were unconsciously trying to escape from. This is the phase of the great, exhausting power struggle. The arguments, the drama, the endless cycle of breakup and makeup. This is not the passion of a great love story. This is the violent, desperate thrashing of two people who are unconsciously at war with their own disowned selves, using the other person as a proxy battlefield. You are not fighting with him. You are fighting with a rejected part of your own soul, and he is doing the same. It is a war in which there can be no winner, only two wounded soldiers, bleeding on a field of their own making, both still refusing to look at the true enemy within. If the war continues, it can only end in annihilation. Either the relationship self-destructs in a final fiery explosion, or it settles into a state of deadening, codependent misery. But for the woman on the path of individuation, there is another way. It is the most difficult path, but it is the only one that leads to true freedom. It is the path of integration. This begins with a moment of terrifying, liberating clarity. It is the moment you finally stop looking at the mirror and see the reflection for what it is. It is the moment you withdraw your projection. You finally see him. Not as a savior, not as a villain, not as a project to be fixed, but as a wounded human being whose path is not your own. You see that his anger, his unavailability, his chaos are not romantic flaws, but symptoms of his own unheaped pain. And in this seeing, a strange and miraculous thing happens. Your anger towards him dissolves, and in its place, a kind of profound, impersonal compassion is born. It is the compassion of a fellow traveler, recognizing another soul's struggle. But with this compassion comes a crucial, razor-sharp boundary. You finally understand that you cannot heal his wound, because you have not yet healed your own. This is the moment you turn away from the battlefield and finally walk towards the locked rooms in your own house. You stop trying to reclaim your power by possessing him, and you start the quiet, solitary, and often terrifying work of reclaiming it from within. You begin to ask the real questions. Where in my life have I silenced my own anger? Where have I mistaken my own fear of vulnerability for strength? What part of me is crying out for the very freedom I so admired in him? You take back your power piece by painful piece. You learn to speak your truth, even when your voice shakes. You learn to set boundaries, not as a wall to keep others out, but as a sacred circle to honor yourself. You learn to feel your own feelings, the messy, uncomfortable, inconvenient ones you had outsourced to him. You are not breaking up with a man. You are breaking up with a pattern of self-abandonment. He was never the point. He was merely the messenger, a fierce and unlikely angel sent by your own unconscious to deliver a message you could no longer ignore. The one you are looking for is within. As you do this work, something magical happens to the original attraction. The frantic, obsessive, desperate pull begins to fade. The magnetism loses its charge. You might see him and feel a flicker of the old connection, but it is a memory, an echo, not a living force. The craving disappears because you are finally learning to feed yourself. He is no longer special, no longer a myth, no longer the key. He is just a man. And you are finally becoming the woman who no longer needs a key, because you have become the one who can open your own doors.